Okay, well, good afternoon, Nigel. How are you?
I'm okay, thank you.
Can we start with team news ahead of the weekend? And how's Alex Scott after he was taken off at Hull on Saturday?
He's all right. He's fine. He'll be available, which is good. So nothing serious. He's okay.
And how's the rest of the squad looking? Anyone back for the weekend? Anyone not available?
Callum is a bit of a doubt, but we'll see how he is. Yeah. Just got a little bit of a tight groin. See how he is, but apart from that, no, we're very much in the same sort of place as last week in terms of availability.
Each and every year on Radio Bristol, we start to produce a sports review of the year. From a Bristol City point of view, how would you review 2021?
I don't think that's for me to really review it, do you? I think that's really more to ask our fans, but I wouldn't think it's been the most positive year that we've ever had. One of, I suppose, the last, if you like, 2 years have shown quite a bit of change within the club, which has been I think traditionally a very stable club. So we're going through transition, but it's not really for me to judge how other people see it. I think I know very much where we are currently in terms of in relation to where we want to get to, and there's still considerable work to be done. So early days really in many ways in terms of a shift in where we're going, but we've made some progress too, behind the scenes in particular.
Yes, Steve Lansdown told the club website last weekend that he felt that you've turned a corner. Are you confident it's going to be a happy 2022 for Bristol City?
I'm not somebody who just makes statements just on the basis that you've asked me a question based on, is it going to be definitely positive? There'll be ups and downs, but I think we'll continue to make progress. I think what's really important throughout everything that we do, all the decisions that we make as a football club in terms of trying to take the club forward, is that we have a transparency about and an openness in terms of what we do, and I think that's something that I believe to be paramount in trying to keep our fan base very much on side with us. I think that's always something that, fans see it for what it is, and I don't think I'm being I don't think I'm over dramatising when I say that football continues to go through very difficult times as an industry. Certainly in the Premier League there is a more of a financial stability, but in the EFL there remains a lot of work to be done to get us as a club and many other clubs into a position of stability. So it's never an easy balance to try and keep everybody's hopes up that you're going to make progress, that there's going to be success on the horizon, but also I think you've just got to be as open as possible in terms of where we are and what we can and can't do.
Now listen, COVID is causing concerns for society at the moment, and it's also causing issues in sport. I think Leicester Spurs is off tonight. There's some games in the EFL having to be postponed this weekend. How big a concern are the next few weeks in terms of just getting through it, getting all the fixtures played? Is it a concern? Do you worry for sport and football over the next few weeks?
I worry for people's health, first and foremost. Sport's a part of our community, a very important part of the social aspects of local communities. So just if you look at us as an operation here, we have an exceptionally high percentage of vaccinations, double vaccinations within our workforce, players and staff alike, and we'll also be encouraging people to have the booster. So just in terms of how we operate here, then we're doing everything that we can to to make the workplace as safe as possible. The problem that we've got, of course, is it's not, we can't just talk about football clubs in isolation. The bigger picture is what's happening on a national level and on a global level. So unfortunately, we're still living through difficult times, and people's tolerances and patience will be continually tested. But if you cast your mind back to when we couldn't have the public in to watch games, I think any changes that are made in terms of people, supporters needing a vaccination passport, if you like, is going to be very, very important for us to try and safeguard everybody who attends games. And I think it's important that we try and keep games available for the public to see. I think we're not far off being 2 years into it, so it's an ever-changing climate, I'm afraid, and we have to be able to deal with it. Otherwise, the ramifications in terms of football clubs going out of business is going to become a very real problem.
Well, let's talk about football on the pitch. And if you want an example of how tight the Championship is, it's Bristol City against Huddersfield. It's at their 10th, but only 3 points ahead of you. So it just shows how important every single point is at the moment, especially with lots of games coming up soon.
Yes, it does. It's amazing, I think, when you consider the fine margins that we're talking about, and we can, recount so many games that have occurred so far this season where we've either given away points or it's very easy to look at the more negative sides, but sides of what's happened so far. It's been a tough first half of the season in many ways. Turning our home form around, being able to find an effective way of playing. It's been a test, but we're still in and around it, and like you say, it remains a very, very tight division, and we've just got to make sure again that our minds remain very much on us, trying to get the best out of what we have here, and that's the most important thing. So we're playing against a side who, at the weekend, in some ways similar to Hull, will try and pass the ball, have had some success this season so far, but are only 3 points ahead of us. So it is really an illustration of how competitive this league is, and how things can also change very quickly. So if we have a reasonable festive period, then there are possibilities that we can start making some sort of a climb up the table, but likewise it can go the other way too. So we have to make sure that our the one word I've used a lot that we struggle to have is the consistency, and we need to try and find that consistency moving forward.
Thank you as always for your time. Have a good week.
Yeah, my pleasure. Cheers.
Afternoon, Nigel.
Hello there, sir. How are you?
Just on the COVID, you said before, I think it was in October, there was 95% of roughly 95% of staff. Is that still the case regarding vaccination numbers?
Well, it can't have gone down.
But in the sense that has it gone up? Has it gone up?
I can't give you a definitive answer to that, but all I can say is that we are very proactive in terms of giving people the opportunity to do so, and that's the most important thing, and education, and there are a lot of. It's still a subject in which the problem is that there's still a lot of question marks as to where this will end up. I think that I can't speak as a medical person, of course, but having Suffered with COVID twice myself, and knowing the impact that it can have on your health, it's something to guard against. There's no doubt about that. So, and we also want to have people available to play. So it's in our interest to get our playing squad having the protection to keep them fit and healthy. So it's it's a pretty complex problem, isn't it? So it's I don't know about conspiracy theories or people's ideas on why you wouldn't do it, but I just find it bizarre that people don't see the necessity to protect themselves, and of course, if they protect themselves, they protect each other, and that's really the important thing as far as I can see. It's a tough situation.
Have you had any sort of one-to-one conversations with players about that who may have reticence?
Well, if I have, then they're not things that I would sort of divulge in the public domain, because that's I respect people's opinions, but having said that, I know from experience that it's something that can threaten your life. So that's that in itself is I think a very telling fact that it's continues to take lives and continues to mutate. So like all viruses do.
On the progress you talked about with Rich, have you kind of set yourself targets in certain sections of the season? I mean, obviously we mentioned it last week, we're approaching the halfway. Did you have a kind of a subconscious or a conscious point that you wanted to get to? And if you did, how close are you to that? The
easy answer for me to say is I don't necessarily work in that way. I'm more I have a more flexible way of thinking, because there are too many variables in our, the starting point from where we are would be, I think, goal setting is important, but I also think it can be, it's not. Our starting point in the summer was a difficult one in terms of numbers of people out and numbers coming in. Do I think we should be better placed than what we currently are? I think potentially we should have more points, but we haven't. Realistically, can we improve on the first half of the season? Absolutely, yes. But again, that's not a given. So I think when you work in circumstances where we are finding solutions as we go, it's not exactly the perfect scenario, but it's the one that we currently have, and so I'm not somebody who tries to bamboozle people with a lot of football speak which doesn't mean anything. For me it's about we have to try and be pragmatic with what we have, but also creative in terms of finding solutions as we move forward. And one of the problems that we've suffered, I suppose, really so far this season is the lack of availability of some of our key players, especially in the midfield area. So where we've got some really key players with experience, we've seldom had them fit at the same time. So it's those situations alone could or potentially can at least change how things feel. So again, it's as you go, you find solutions. So I suppose what I'm saying in a pretty long-winded way is that I don't necessarily think that is a way that we can work at the moment, because there are too many variables within where we are at the moment.
On the experienced midfielders, you talk about, how's Andy King been?
Really good. Yeah, he won't be involved this weekend, because I think I've said in previous weeks that we're aiming for him to be in and around it by the Boxing Day game, and that is, I think, where we will have him available, and I think that will be a very welcome addition to the squad.
Callum's injury, was that from Hull or was it during training?
He's just had a tightness, a little bit from the game. I think it's probably best that he's not involved at the weekend, but we'll see. Yeah.
Just finally for me, I know you've spoken about creativity and the need to have more. Can I ask what Casey Palmer's situation is? It's been 5 games since he was involved in a matchday squad. I know he didn't play that much, but he was still involved in squads. Kind of, what's his role at the moment?
A player for our football club, who's currently training with us. That's where we are. Yeah, that's where we are. Not a lot further to add on that, apart from. If he does enough, he might be included. So that doesn't change. But again, I think, look, to be absolutely honest with you, discussing individuals like that, he's not been included because other players have done more. But likewise, if he plays himself back into contention, then so be it. Fine.
And would that be because there's an under-23s fixture next week, or is that in training? Like, how can he play his way back in?
Yeah, training. Yeah. Okay.
Lovely.
Good.
Thanks for your time, Nigel.
Yeah, no problem.
Nigel, just a quick one from me. Sorry to go back to COVID again.
No, it's fine. Yes,
seeing how quickly it's sort of spreading around teams, the number of games that have been called off recently, have you got a particular opinion as to whether the league should take a bit of a pause, and let things settle, or whether it should try and continue as much as it can?
I don't think the league should pause it. I think what should have happened by now is that clubs should have been more proactive in getting their players and staff vaccinated. So I think you probably see there's probably a correlation between clubs who are missing, have a lot of cases, and their vaccination program. So maybe the league should have done something about that earlier themselves, rather than be reactive. I don't see the point in the leagues being reactive to things. They should be on the front foot in driving programs to get protection for the people who work in the industry, so that the industry can keep going, and so that the public can see the games. That's how I see it.
Obviously, it is coming into a very busy time in the season. Are you particularly worried about any matches being called off or postponed at all? Or are you just trying to carry on as much as you can within your squad?
All I'll reiterate is that because our squad is relatively well protected, and that doesn't mean that we won't have positive cases, but the very fact that we have a very high percentage of protection within the workplace, then I think our fixtures have I would imagine, a reasonable chance of going ahead. I can't talk for how other clubs approach it. So, and certainly the authorities, as far as I'm concerned, they just haven't done enough. Simple.
Thanks very much.
Pleasure.
Hi Nigel, just following on that as well, I've seen some managers, Stephen Gerrard said that vaccination status might affect their transfer business in January. Is that something that you might consider as well, a vaccination status of a player?
No, I think financial fair play's got more to do with our business that we do. So no, you're talking about different levels of operation there. So
And just a last one, just on the opponents as well. Huddersfield, would you say perhaps they're a similar team to you in regards to they were in transition for the last few seasons, and they're perhaps someone you could aspire to?
No, I can't talk about them really. I just know where we are, and that's all I'm bothered about. So where they are in their changes, if they're going through them, not really something that I'm too bothered about.